And I think you talked about, and Bill talked about other shows, there's shows out there that have had really tough spells for a wee while, bad weather and bad runs of luck. And Nielsen's show should have been at last weekend, and they probably had the best weather they've had for years. And it's the frustration of the effort of the board, of the staff, of the stakeholders, of the members that goes into it, and that feeling that it's not able to happen for them. And, the sands don't stand still for very long.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said, we can't replace the show, we can't fill the void, but there are stories, there are people out there, and we want to be telling those stories and giving people a chance to shine. So as we progress with the series of podcast episodes, is there anything particular, Bill, that you would like to see coming out in terms of types of stories and things like that?
Yeah, I think we touched a wee bit on how people have adapted their businesses. For example, their rural businesses, and there's certainly it would be really interesting to hear how people have dealt with the difficulty of what they were in. I can think of one person, for example, who had a particular element of his business which went completely down the plug when the hospitality sector disappeared. And he switched that into a completely new food delivery business, which he never really thought would ever happen, never really considered it, for example. A classic example of adapting. And the one thing that we're really good at as an agricultural community is adapting to circumstances and changes. It's happened for centuries. So things like that. But I think also strictly from the show point of view, I think it'd be really interesting to see how people are dealing with the planning that they're thinking about. Okay, so this show's not here, our local show's not here, so what are we going to do for next year? How do we start thinking about what we do for next year? All those sorts of things. So yeah, I think you'll be spoilt for choice ultimately, I think.
Yes.
I think in some regards, Bill, that those stories, when you explore them and you give them oxygen, people are blown away by so many of them.
Yeah.
We talk about the Royal Highland Show and the emotion of it being cancelled, but there's huge positive emotions. If you finally get your hands on that piece of silverware that your granddad first won, decades ago, and this has been your career pinnacle, we get people bouncing into the trophy room very upbeat, and then instantly there's a reflection. Actually, this is a career high. When I get my hands on that piece of silver, that is me reached one of my bucket list things. And those stories are really powerful, and we've got some real glue in the society in the Highland Show about those sort of things. And I think if we can give some air to some of those, they're nice reflections, but also they remind us that, what we do is important. It's important to rural Scotland, it's important to the people of rural Scotland, and it's important to bridge some of the gaps around food. I don't think people have thought about where their food is coming from more in the last 30 years than they have in the last few weeks. Who are the heroes of our food supply chain, and who do you forget about? The livestock haulier who makes sure that the cattle are still getting to the right places to be, the delivery driver. And I think if we can unearth some of those hidden heroes stories and celebrate them over the coming months, I'd be really excited about that. I'm really proud of knowing that there's people out there that are fighting on behalf of rural Scotland.
Absolutely.
I think on the slightly more negative is that there are some real challenges out there for businesses too. And if there are things that people think that by sharing and engaging and looking at things from a different angle or with the collective support of the RHASS board or RHASS as an organisation, we have to be realistic that life has changed. Some of the things we value and hold dearly might not be with us on the other side of this, and what takes their place, and how do we be realistic about that. So I think we need to get that right balance around the challenges that we're facing in isolation, the challenges that the economy is facing and people's businesses are facing, but also, as Bill and we've talked about in the past a lot, about there's huge resilience, there's huge innovation, there's huge enthusiasm, and there's huge fight in the people in rural Scotland, and hopefully we can find some good gems.